The fall of the Separatist leader Count Dooku at the hand of Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker marked the beginning of the end of an arduous war. Whilst the Jedi Order believed that the destruction of droid Commander General Grievous would be the key to the end of the war, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine had blinded them all by seducing the promising Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker to the dark side of the Force, pledging him the ability to save his allegedly dying wife Senator Padme Amidala of Naboo. By the time the Jedi discovered the real identity of Palpatine, it was too late. Master of the Order Mace Windu, who had shown continuous criticism towards Anakin, was ultimately betrayed by the Jedi Knight, and in a show of Sith strength, Palpatine unleashed a torrent of Force lightning and declared that his power was unlimited. But what if Palpatine had only limited power? How would Anakin react? Would he have doubts about joining the Sith? All of those questions are about to be answered. Anakin stood in the vicinity of Palpatine, who was engulfing Mace Windu in a wave of Sith fury, having chosen to cut off the Jedi Master's hand. The Sith Lord began to boast about his powers, when he curiously remarked that they were limited. It soon dawned upon Anakin that the powers of the Sith were just as restricted as the Jedi, except that the path to attaining it was much easier. Watching as Windu began to lose his resistance and balance, Anakin took a step forward, which Palpatine thought was to mutilate the Jedi, but dropping out of the window, Anakin used one of his hands to hold him in the air. Palpatine scowled at this display of weakness, something that would not be tolerated were he to become his apprentice, and knocking Anakin's grip from Windu, he ordered him to bow before him. Outside of the office, Anakin's hesitation had most certainly saved Windu's life, as he held on with one hand to the ledge of the building. The Master of the Order began to lose his grip, still feeling massive amounts of pain from the Sith's attack, and calculating his fall, he landed perfectly on top of a police speeder. Rolling onto one of the pavements, Windu looked despairingly at Palpatine's office in the distance, but this gave him an idea. Using his remaining hand to pull a passing speeder out of the traffic, he put his head down and surged towards the apartment of Senator Amidala. Out of the corner of his eye, he could still see Palpatine and Anakin arguing, and knew he had enough time. Docking just outside of the Senator's veranda, the Naboo politician rushed out in surprise, but Windu has no time for pleasantries, and escorts into his speeder, setting his course for Palpatine's office. Anakin was being presented as Darth Vader, and with his first mission to destroy the Jedi Temple's inhabitants, Windu and Padme dived through the open window, much to the shock of the Sith. Palpatine tried to push his apprentice out of the doorway, but he had already seen that Padme had entered the room, and was in a great amount of pain from the fall. Palpatine hid his internal disgust, and knew he could not execute Order 66 as he had planned, until Anakin was fully engrossed in the dark side, so he decided to take the speeder the Jedi left behind and travel to the Senate building. With Mas Amedda and two of his guards guiding him into the Senate pod, the Sith Lord addressed the remaining senators, and declared that the Jedi had attempted to assassinate him, then placed a bounty on all of those who were seen supporting them. The mixed reaction from the senators was a surprise to Palpatine, but what he didn't know was that Senator Organa had been told about the truth behind Palpatine when Windu had made his visit to Padme's apartment, and he had warned all of his allied senators. After the Senate meeting, Bail Organa soon informed by one of Padme's guards that she was headed for the Grand Republic's medical facility, but that Anakin was nowhere to be found. Palpatine had made use of a resident shapeshifter to confuse Anakin on his journey to the medical center, and guiding him into Coruscant's landing platform. Anakin soon realizes the deception, but he is stunned by two royal guards. Padme had been confused when Anakin veered off in front of her, but this was soon taken over by physical pain, and Bail Organa quickly carried her into the medical center. Whilst the medical droids helped Padme's birth of her children, the events on other worlds such as Utapau had been much less dramatic. After Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi had killed General Grievous, he had been leading his 212th Attack Battalion to a successful victory over the Separatists, until he received an incoming transmission from fellow Jedi Master Mace Windu. The council member was unlike anything that Obi-Wan had seen, and clutching his broken hand, he ordered for all of the Jedi to stay away until the bounties from their heads had been lifted. Obi-Wan turned to the holoprojector inside of the communications unit, and in front of him, the hologram of Palpatine appeared to broadcast the Jedi becoming new enemies of the Empire. The Jedi Master's thoughts soon turned to Anakin, who he knew was close to the Supreme Chancellor, and asking Cody to try and find him, his signal was nowhere to be found. Immediately preparing his ship for the journey to Coruscant, the Jedi Master entered into a hyperdrive docking ring when he sees his radar being filled with activity, and with his astromech, they swerve to avoid the incoming turret fire. Soon seeking help from his clone troopers on the ground, Republic gunships rise from the surface to fend off the attackers, but this was a sign that the war had not finished with the death of Grievous. Once Commander Cody had provided Obi-Wan with sufficient cover fire, the Jedi Master is able to travel to Coruscant against the orders of Mace Windu as he tried to rescue Anakin. But once he laid his eyes upon the Jedi's home planet, he ordered R4G9 to stop their course, with their path being obstructed by the newest craft of the Imperial fleet. Obi-Wan is unsure of whether to take the risk to try to find Anakin when he received an incoming transmission from Senator Bail Organa that Padme had successfully delivered Luke and Leia and was now frantically searching for the Jedi Knight who had reportedly been taken away to the fleet above Coruscant. Obi-Wan decided to ignore the instructions of Windu and setting his ship for an attack. His goal was not to destroy the fleet, but to infiltrate it. Swooping towards one of the turbo laser turrets, he made sure to avoid the radius of the rotating shipboard weapons, but he could not avoid the fire from the other surrounding ships, and with his engine burning brightly, he found one of the hangars and slid into several prototype Imperial TIE fighters on his way out of the canopy of his starfighter. The Jedi Master ignited his blade, but to his horror, the ship began to shake and he sensed a massive danger before he's engulfed in flames, as his presence had triggered a trap that had set off a chain reaction. The air within the hangar became depressurized, and Obi-Wan tried to look for a spacesuit, but he's knocked out by a giant piece of debris. R4G9 had still been on Obi-Wan's starfighter, and flying away from the flames, the astromech placed a breathing mask on the Jedi Master, which had been on the ship, before also becoming a part of the debris of the fleet. The comlink from the Jedi Master continued to flash and beep, and down on the ground, Windu and Shakti had gathered the Jedi on Coruscant around the missions room, when they detected an incoming craft trying to enter the Imperial airspace. Finding the ship to be a Republic Venator-class Star Destroyer, the communications officer ensures the subsequent transmission is not intercepted by the Empire, and it is the Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano bringing back the renegade Sith Maul. Using the large frame of their ship as a distraction, the former Jedi leads as many of the surviving clone troopers into Republic gunships, as Maul's cage is lifted into the Jedi Temple. Windu and Ahsoka are at the front of an interrogation, and with the Zabrak wanting nothing more than to see the fall of his old master, he revealed that the Jedi had been blind to a carefully crafted plan. The Jedi still looked confusingly at each other when Commander Rex walked into the room, and the Jedi saw a recording of the clone and ARC Trooper 5s, discussing their suspicions with their clone inhibitor chips. Grandmaster Yodon Kashyyyk knew that they needed to remove these chips before Anakin had completed his transformation to the dark side, were the Jedi to survive another betrayal. Across the galaxy, Jedi Council member Shakti issued an order for all of the clone troopers to have the inhibitor chips removed, and in the meantime, the Jedi set about trying to save Obi-Wan and Anakin. Mobilizing all of their stationed clone troopers on Coruscant, the other Jedi had yet to complete their brutal battles on the other worlds, apart from Plo Koon, who had managed to reclaim Katon in Moidia, and they gathered in one of the hidden bases for an inspired briefing from General Windu. The Master of the Order declares this battle to be the reason for their creation, and the clones free of their chips have realised that Palpatine had been the ultimate traitor, and united in their support for the Jedi. Waiting for Plo Koon's fleet to arrive, the Keldor Master's ships are soon supported by Commander Cody's fleet that had been left over from the battle on Utapau, and they combined their forces to represent a threat to the might of the new Empire. On their radars, the navigational officers detect a field of debris, and in amongst it all was the unconscious Obi-Wan and the brave R4G9, hauling them both into a Republic tugboat. The Jedi Master took several hours to awaken from his slumber before he found himself in the medical wing of one of the destroyers. Obi-Wan was not in any condition to join the fight, but he and his astromech had managed to gain an insight into the fleet's defences, which were priceless to the Jedi. Manoeuvring the fleet into position, the Imperial officers confidently opened fire on the Republic opposition, and the Second Battle of Coruscant had begun. Standing on top of adjacent bridges were Jedi Masters Plo Koon and Mace Windu, using all of their strategic skills to try and pierce the Imperial defences. But as they were getting to grips with the overwhelming firepower of the opposition, the Jedi all sensed something that they had not felt in the Force before, and several thunderbolts of lightning ascend from the surface of Coruscant to engulf the Republic ships, and the Jedi started to suspend in stasis. The light side users tried to desperately cling onto any secure surface, and in one of the destroyers, the force of the attack had caused Obi-Wan to awaken from his slumber. Trying to reach out to any of the other Jedi, Palpatine's attack had jammed all of the communications, but R2-D2 made its way into the battle and sidled next to the Jedi Master. Obi-Wan asked for Anakin's droid to go to one of the escape pods and find Anakin, as it was clear that the Jedi Knight would now be somewhere near Palpatine. The reliable astromech flew down past the dormant ships, but the pod's presence was spotted by Palpatine's guards, who opened fire and sent R2-D2 towards the ground. Rather conveniently for the droid, the escape pod landed right in front of the Jedi Temple, and hearing the sound of lightsabers swinging inside, followed the noises to the Jedi archives. There the droid saw Palpatine and a reluctant Anakin, carving through any of the knights and Padawans that had the misfortune of remaining at the temple against the orders of Master Windu. Searching for the communications line to any of the clone commanders, he attempted to execute Order 66, but all of the clone troopers failed to respond to his instructions, and running back outside, he restarted his attack on the Republic fleet. As Anakin lagged behind his master, R2-D2 intentionally bumped into his legs, and the eyes of the apprentice softened at the sight of his old friend. The droid showed a holographic recording of Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia, and a subsequent search for the Jedi Knight, causing Anakin to fold onto the floor in shame at what he had done. R2-D2 reminded him that there was still time to save the Jedi, and Anakin got to his feet, then proudly ignited his lightsaber. Surging towards Palpatine, the Sith Lord is forced to stop his attack at the sudden betrayal of his apprentice, and the Jedi above them are able to resume their battle. During their time in immobility, the Jedi had been bombarded by the fleet of the Empire, and now they were forced to resort to using their starfighters, until the fleet of Grandmaster Yoda and Luminara Unduli arrived in time to repel the Imperial fleet. The Empire struggled to keep track of the sporadic movements of all of the Jedi, a strategy that Anakin had frequently used, and slowly the Jedi began to take over. As the last ship exploded, the Jedi had no time to celebrate their victory, with R2-D2 reporting of the continuing duel between Anakin and Palpatine, and they all dived down for one final encounter. The unstable Anakin was beginning to falter, struggling to balance his conflict, but Grandmaster Yoda stepped in the middle of their duel and deflected Palpatine's lightning attack with his hands. The Sith Lord watched as the Jedi began to creep towards him, and he knew the game was up as he pushed his way back on top of an abandoned speeder. Before he could declare that the Sith's legacy would continue for years after his death, Anakin utilised a Force-enhanced leap and impaled his master to complete the Fall of Darkness. The Jedi immediately felt the absence of this darkness in the galactic city, but Anakin was focused on searching for Padme, so leapt into his starfighter and headed for the city's medical centre. Bail Organa escorted the Jedi Knight into the medical bay, where Padme was waiting with Luke and Leia, whilst the Senator himself travelled to the Senate building to sort out the death of Palpatine. Being declared the temporary Supreme Chancellor, the Senator of Alderaan deployed the clones to look for the hidden members of the Separatist Council, and after being rounded up on Mustafar, they are found guilty of their contributions to the corruption in the Galactic Republic. Meanwhile, the Jedi Order is restored, but drastic changes are made to avoid the mistakes that had been made during the era of Palpatine. Anakin is placed at the helm of the Order, with Yoda and Windu deciding to re-evaluate their position as Jedi after their blindness to Palpatine, ensuring that the power of the Sith will not rise again. That is it for What If Palpatine had limited power. If you enjoyed this What If, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel WhatIfFilms. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.